D. Mace, Finn, Ginendonic, 1025, 1063 The Game. Broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Donick, Adam Vingid, David Janes here with you. Derek Mason, unfortunately, under the weather. Derek will not be in today. We hope he will be back tomorrow. We've got a jam-packed week in our city. The SEC tournament starts tomorrow at Bridgestone Arena. We'll get hot and heavy into that. Actually, it starts on Wednesday. Let me rephrase. It starts on Wednesday. But we will get hot and heavy into the SEC tournament throughout the week. Willie will depart at 12:20. Jake Lyman will join me for the second half of the program. Teron Davenport at 1 o'clock. Also would like to give a shout out to the Lipscomb basketball team, which won the ASUN title over the weekend. Lipscomb will appear in the NCAA tournament for the second time in program history, the first time since 2018. And Philip Hutchison, Lipscomb athletic director, will join us at noon to discuss Lipscomb's win and the upcoming NCAA tournament.
It was an unbelievable weekend of college basketball with some of the bids going down. Lipscomb made the successful run on their home court, which had to be a great thrill for the fans. I get the neutral site concept of conference tournaments, but I do like, especially in the smaller leagues, that the team that earns the home court advantage gets that advantage in the conference tournament. So Lipscomb pulled it out, and they had to pull it out in the semifinal, played really well yesterday, and knocked out the number 2 seed. Big thrill for them. First time they've been to the tournament since Lenny Acuff took over. We'll talk to Philip Hutchison, who is, for people that are newer to town, like yourself, Adam, when I got to Nashville, I had no idea who Phil Hutchison was. I didn't know anything about Lipscomb basketball or Belmont basketball, but I had teammates tell me, you got to go see Lipscomb and Belmont play. I was like, Lipscomb and Belmont? You know, I'm growing up with Big East and Patrick Ewing and Chris Mullen. I was like, why would I want to go see Lipscomb? And they're like, just wait. They used to play some unbelievably good games. Both of them were NAIA powerhouses for years. Lipscomb won a national championship. Philip Hutchison is still, I think, in the top 5 of all. When he quit, when he was done playing, he was the all-time leader in college basketball scores. He scored over 4,000 points at Lipscomb. So he's been the visionary for that program for a long, long time as they've shuttled into Division I. So big win for them. Tough loss for Belmont, by the way. I was watching them play their semifinal game against Drake. It's tied. Drake is, by the way, 30-3, and they beat Vanderbilt earlier in the season, the only non-conference loss that Vanderbilt had. Drake is a really good team. Belmont's right there with them. Controversial call at the end of a shot clock that was a bad call. I mean, a really bad call. Then they tee up Casey Alexander, which I do not get. He flipped his clipboard behind himself, not at the referee. They call him for a tee. Critical call at a bad time. Belmont can't quite get over the hump to get to the final. Drake goes on to win it. TSU played a great game, went right down to the last shot in their semifinal, came up just short, and weren't able to get to the final of that tournament. But man, it's so much fun to have the March Madness. And the games have been so great. I keep saying the whole time, if you checked out on college basketball the last few games, I'm telling you, this tournament is going to be awesome.
So Philip Hutchison, Lipscomb AD, will join us at noon. Again, congratulations to the Lipscomb basketball program for its ASUN title and its first NCAA tournament appearance since 2018. Also, I would like to acknowledge MTSU starts its tournament.
And they've got a shot.
Conference USA.
True blue, baby.
Conference USA quarterfinals Thursday in Huntsville. MTSU opens against Louisiana Tech. MTSU is the 3rd seed in that tournament.
Number 3 seed.
So good luck to MTSU. And again, of course, the SEC tournament starts at Bridgestone Arena on Wednesday. Jake Lyman and I will dissect that coming up later in the program. But it's basically Christmas morning in the NFL. The legal tampering period is open. And that's just a funny phrase to me.
Yes.
Legal tampering.
And before we get into legal tampering, I am very disappointed in you, Adam,
Why is that?
because I know you're a huge Duke fan.
I am.
But you're also an American University graduate. American is in the finals of their league.
Indeed, they are.
Why didn't you give them a shout out? They're playing for the Patriot League title. They might be. I'm doing my best, Dick Vitale, who by the way, it was great to see him back in there. He did the Alabama Auburn game. You know, he's a little not as quite as powerful with the voice, but still adds to the broadcast. I loved hearing him. I was like, come on, baby.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. The Patriot League. Come on, we're going dancing.
Okay, fine.
Get excited for your.
They're going dancing.
Good luck
Get
to my.
excited for your Eagles.
Good luck to
That was
my
pretty
alma
good,
mater.
David. That was good. He's got the tone.
Good luck to my alma mater, American University. They will host the Patriot League championship
Yes.
game
Are you going?
on Wednesday. Unfortunately, I can't make it.
Man.
I can't make
Come
it back to DC. But with Bucknell being upset, American will host Navy on
Yes,
campus.
Navy has a basketball team.
Yes, they do. They
Remember
will
when they
host
had?
the game.
Remember we had David Robinson? Do you ever seen films of him back in
Yes.
the day? Like Navy used to have like a height restriction, and they made an exception for David Robinson because he grew so much while he was in school. That's the last really great Navy team I can remember. But come on, you got to take care of Navy, right?
You would hope.
You would hope.
Also, go Tigers, go.
I
The
was
Memphis Tigers are #1 in American
But
athletics.
also a local note.
yes.
A high school teammate of my son Mahoney, Adrian Samuels, who went to Vanderbilt and walked on for a year, then transferred to American. He's playing for your alma mater. So
Excellent.
let's go, Adrian. Get him over the hump. Let's go.
It's been a minute since American
They
has
played
been.
they played in the high school Final Four back in the day. Mahoney Donick, Adrian Samuels, and company. Great team.
American's first two appearances in the NCAA tournament in program history came during my freshman and sophomore years. The first time, I think it was the first time they played Tennessee as a 15th seed. I want to say in Birmingham. And then the second time around, they played Villanova in Philadelphia, if I'm not mistaken, which didn't seem
Yikes.
fair at that time and doesn't seem fair all these years later. But I digress. The NFL's legal tampering period is open. Again, I think that's such a funny phrase, legal tampering. By the way, great time, Elon Musk, for X to not be working when everybody wants to know what's going on around the NFL. Again, it's neither here nor there. But the moves, the money is free flowing around the NFL. There were some gigantic moves in the NFL over the weekend. But the first is, I think, the most consequential. The Las Vegas Raiders traded Geno Smith. Excuse me, the Seahawks traded Geno Smith to the Raiders. The Raiders acquired Geno Smith from the Seahawks for a 2025 third-round pick, which is 92nd overall. So Geno Smith moves on from Seattle, heads to Las Vegas, reuniting with Pete Carroll. And from here, I'm fascinated by what the quarterback market could look like. Ian Rappaport of NFL Network had this tweet following the trade of Geno Smith to the Raiders. He said, the fallout is dramatic. The Seahawks turn their attention to Sam Darnold, which means the Vikings' time with Darnold is likely over as they turn their eyes to Daniel Jones. Though Daniel Jones has options, with Minnesota and the Colts being among them. Aaron Rodgers lurks. That's a good word for Aaron Rodgers, by the way. Aaron Rodgers does seem like a lurker. Aaron Rodgers lurks, considering the Giants with the Vikings as a dark horse. Justin Fields has a strong market as the Steelers work to re-sign him, but the Jets and others have interest. So, considering all of the talk we've had about the Titans and what they will do at quarterback, Geno Smith being traded from the Seahawks to the Raiders, there's going to be this gigantic ripple effect, I feel. And I'm curious to see how the Titans fare in all of it.
Boy, the table is set, right? We knew it was going to be like this when these days started to hit. But you're right. I don't think anybody could have predicted that Geno Smith would be traded. And suddenly you would have a little bit of a shift in what the game plan was going to be. And I commend the Seahawks on this front Because you hear the Seahawks are going heavy after Darnold, right? That's their strategy here. Now, if they whiff on it, then they're going to be left with what? Drew Lock. Oh no, maybe not. Drew Lock was there. Who would be the fallback for the Seahawks? Do they have a backup sitting there that they could plug in? I mean, there's a lot. There's Gardner Minshew.
Do they
always
still
out
have
there.
Sam Howell?
I think that might be right.
Well, there you go. Giddy up.
Yep.
Seahawks
Sam Howell
fans.
is on the roster. That's who I was confusing him with Drew Lock. And they're kind of in the same category, right? Not who you'd like to have in there, but maybe somebody who's somewhat serviceable. But I think the takeaway is I think some people probably laughed when I said, hey, Daniel Jones could be in the mix as a fallback option, a placeholder in an exploratory. Let's see if we can make the next bounce back guy. But that article would indicate Daniel Jones is not just going to have somebody throw him the league minimum to come in there. He's going to get a gig.
The idea of him in Indianapolis is interesting to me because the Colts have said they plan on bringing in competition for Anthony Richardson. So could Daniel Jones battle Anthony Richardson and mentor him the way that Joe Flacco mentored Richardson last season? That to me is interesting. The Darnold part of it too. By the way, it seems like everybody's interested in Aaron Rodgers now. I feel like Aaron Rodgers is plan B for basically every team that needs a quarterback because now apparently the Steelers might have some interest.
It's incredible. The market, when there just aren't that many good guys out there for a 41-year-old quarterback, right? He's going to have his pick.
The other big move that happened over the weekend that could play a role in the quarterback market is, speaking of the Seahawks have been doing all of the things. They traded DK Metcalf to the Steelers, and then the Steelers signed DK Metcalf to this gigantic contract. I want to say 5 years, $150 million. I believe that was the deal for DK Metcalf. And the Steelers are still trying to figure out what they're going to do at quarterback with Justin Fields or Russell Wilson, maybe Aaron Rodgers. I've seen Sam Darnold's name thrown there. And you sent us something interesting from Warren Sharp about the Steelers.
Right.
And now that they have DK Metcalf, could that telegraph what the Steelers might do at quarterback?
Well, I think his point was, if you're the Steelers, and remember, we are very familiar with the offense they run in this city because Arthur Smith is the offensive coordinator. But with the quarterbacks he had to work with last year, and Russell Wilson, but particularly Justin Fields, what Walder pointed out, and Walder is a analytics guy, deep analytics guy, and I think really good. He basically pointed out that they didn't throw very much when Fields was their quarterback, which is one of the reasons they made the difficult choice, even when they were winning, to swap out Fields when Russell Wilson got healthy and insert Wilson as the starter, thinking that he could give them a better level of passing. So that's the thing with Fields is, and I think the numbers he threw out there were they were in the very bottom of the league of throwing on first down and just, in other words, they just didn't throw it unless they had to throw it.
Warren Sharp said on Twitter, which is, again, not working right now. Thanks, Elon. There is virtually no way the Steelers can possibly get their money's worth out of DK Metcalf if Justin Fields is their quarterback. The Steelers did not throw, in all caps, with Fields at quarterback. 31st in early down pass rate, 32nd in rate of yardage via passes.
Right. So didn't throw down the field and didn't throw on early downs. But remember what a weapon Fields is as a runner. Like, he is unique. He is maybe not quite Lamar Jackson, but he is that kind of guy. He's had 1,000-yard rushing season. So that's another intriguing guy. I don't know if Justin Fields fits what the Titans do offensively, but that's the intrigue about Metcalf to the Steelers is with Arthur Smith's offense, is Metcalf going to be the right fit, and is this setting the stage because they're going to try to get a different quarterback? You hear a lot of Aaron Rodgers there. Right?
Diana Rossini of The Athletic reported over the weekend that the Steelers are expected to make an offer to Sam Darnold. She wrote, many around the league believe Darnold will wind up in Seattle, but Pittsburgh is doing its due diligence on any potential options ahead of the new league year. What's interesting about...
So do we think that Darnold will get even more money than we thought with the way this market is going here?
It's a good question. But if you're
could be a bidding war here.
If you're Sam Darnold, remember, not only did the Seahawks just trade DK Metcalf, they also released Tyler Lockett. So who's their number one receiver? Jackson Smith and Jigba?
You would hope.
I'm curious about what Darnold's, when you look at the Steelers and the Seahawks. Again, assuming that the Seahawks are going to go hard after Sam Darnold. If you're Sam Darnold, do you see the Seahawks as the best place for you in terms of the right environment to build off of your breakout season? Or do you look at the Steelers with DK Metcalf? And keep in mind, they still have George Pickens too. Although I have seen some reporting about what DK Metcalf's arrival could mean for George Pickens and the Steelers. But it seems on paper that the Steelers have that more hospitable environment for Sam Darnold than the Seahawks do right now.
That is, to me, what you should be looking at if you're Sam Darnold. Forget about what you or I's opinion of what the Seahawks offense might look like or what the Steelers offense might look like. If those are the lead two, there could be a third in there. But sometimes I think we might see some situations where the agent is the one saying, oh, look at this. They're giving you this. They're giving you that. It shouldn't be just about the money. It should be money/fit. I think for the health of Sam Darnold's career going forward, because the minute he signs with his new team, there will be an expectation level on him that even exceeds what it was when he came into the league as a high first-round pick in New York. And that's a pretty high bar. And we know he crashed and burned badly. So he has that experience in his history. So I would think you would want to, in my mind, if I know this is sacrilegious to some, but sacrifice a little money if you have to go into a winning situation or the best situation for you. That's the assessment he's got to make.
615-737-1025. Your thoughts on basically the opening of NFL free agency. It doesn't officially open until later this week, but with the legal tampering period officially underway, the money is free flowing around the NFL. So any thoughts on the ripple effect that the trading of Geno Smith has on the Titans quarterback situation and quarterback situations around the league? 615-737-1025. Coming up next, I was watching NFL Live late last week, and they were talking about the Titans quarterback plans. And then Jeremy Fowler, in passing, mentioned a name that I think Titans fans, I don't think they want to hear. And we'll play for that for you next. But before we do, join 1025 and 1063 The Game for an SEC watch party as we broadcast live from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. at Mellow Mushroom on Broadway on Wednesday, Assembly Food Hall on Thursday, and the Pub in the Gulch on Friday. On-site coverage of the SEC tournament brought to you by Toyota, Guinness, the new Cumberland.com, Volunteer Hose and Gasket, and Sloan's Motorcycle ATV. For more details, visit thegamenashville.com/events.
So I do expect the Tennessee Titans to snag a veteran quarterback in this market. They're gauging that interest right now over the weekend, planning for free agency. I don't sense that it will be that top of market Sam Darnold type player. Could be a mid-tier type option. Maybe even like a Zach Wilson type player who's been a backup, who's still got some upside they could bring in. Because most people around the league still do expect that Miami quarterback Cam Ward will be firmly on Tennessee's radar and could be the pick at number one. If you do that, they just need somebody to hold down the fort for a year. They don't feel like they're in contention playoff style right now. They got a year or two to build this thing.
That was Jeremy Fowler, ESPN NFL reporter, on NFL Live late last week. And I heard that clip, and Jeremy Fowler's talking about the things the Titans could do at quarterback, and it's all kind of the stuff we've talked about. And then he threw Zach Wilson's name in there. And I had to stop and rewind and make sure, did I just hear him say Zach Wilson? And understandably, predictably, once that clip got out there, people on Titans Twitter, Titans X, whatever the heck you want to call it, it's still not working as far as I know, were not pleased with the idea of Zach Wilson. But I got to thinking about it. I'm not going to say that the Titans should go out there and sign Zach Wilson, because people remember how Zach Wilson's time with the New York Jets went. It did not go well. But Zach Wilson, he enjoyed a reset year in 2024 with the Denver Broncos. He was Denver's third string quarterback behind Bo Nix and Jarrett Stidham. Spent a year with Sean Payton. And it leads me to wonder, could Zach Wilson, Willie, you've talked about finding the next Sam Darnold,
Yes.
right? Instead of banking on Sam Darnold and paying Sam Darnold a lot of money, go out and find the next Sam Darnold. It's not a perfect comparison, but Sam Darnold spent basically a gap year as a backup quarterback in San Francisco with Kyle Shanahan. We know the work that Sean Payton historically has done with quarterbacks. Bo Nix was one of the biggest surprises of this NFL season, I would say. Nobody expected him to be as efficient as he was. Zach Wilson. Could Zach Wilson be this year's Sam Darnold?
Well, let's go back to Lewis and Clark and the expedition.
Yes.
We're going out into the frontier. We've talked about you're coming across on the frontier, on the prairies, the Joneses. We got Mac Jones. We got Daniel Jones. We got, and now, fittingly, because he was born in Utah, we got the Wilsons. So we got Zach.
And Russell.
For that matter, Russell. He's out there. I don't think he's from Utah.
He's not.
Now, I will ask you this. Look, I watched the same games that everybody else watched. And Zach Wilson struggled mightily, looked awful. But let's wind the clock back. Sam Darnold was once a struggling high first-round pick for the Jets. And I don't know, I'm not the right person to answer this question. But I would ask, and I don't think, but I would ask the fans this. Did Darnold do any worse or better than Zach Wilson did when he was quarterbacking the Jets?
It's a good question.
So if you're looking for the next Sam Darnold, Zach Wilson is as good of a candidate to bounce back as any of these other guys, right? You would have laughed. Now, Jared, I think, is trying to tell everybody that he knew when he was on the bench for San Francisco that he had this in him and was going to blossom.
He goes back to the previous
The Carolina,
season
I know.
with the Carolina Panthers.
Right. But like you said, experience has changed. Not everybody is going to bounce back, but that's why you're buying low. That would be the angle. Now, should they hand $25 million or something to Zach Wilson before they ever see him throw a pass? No, but if he's out there and he's on the street, you just did a really interesting session last week when you pulled out an article of a consensus of talent evaluators of quarterbacks coming out of the draft. Zach Wilson was one of the highest graded coming out of college of any of these guys. and he has crashed and burned. He's only 25 years old right now. He'll be 26, I guess. He'll be 26 in August, which is still about the same age as Will Levis and Hendon Hooker and a lot of guys. So he's got a lot of games under his belt. I have no idea if he could be the next one, but who knew that Sam Darnold would do what he was doing? Who knew that when Baker Mayfield was floundering for the Panthers and pretty much fired in the middle of the season and then kind of showed up because the Rams needed a quarterback so badly, he all of a sudden shows up and starts playing for them a little bit. He rebuilt his career from scratch. Why not Zach Wilson? I'm not saying, hey, yeah, I've watched the film and Zach Wilson can do all this. I'm not into that at all. That's up for the Titans to decide. But if anyone wants to laugh it off, I would just say, is he any worse than any of the other guys?
So the article you referenced that I referenced last week was from Matt Miller of ESPN.com. He stacked the 19 passers who were taken in round 1 from 2020 through 2024, dropped in Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, and ranked them with the help of NFL scouts, decision makers, and analysts using pre-draft grades. On that list, Zach Wilson came in at number 9. Number 9 out of 21 when you include Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. The Athletic had a good story about Zach Wilson in January. The story notes, quote, he is only 25 years old, as you mentioned. He has made 33 pro starts, and now he is coming off a year in which he could sit, catch his breath, and hone his craft behind the scenes. The experience he was supposed to have in 2023 with the Jets before Aaron Rodgers suffered a season-ending Achilles injury during the game's opening drive. It was an experience for Wilson similar to that of the first-round Jets quarterback who came before him, Sam Darnold. After an up-and-down 5 seasons to begin his career with the Jets and then the Carolina Panthers, Darnold spent the 2023 season as the backup to Brock Purdy in San Francisco. He worked mostly behind the scenes while learning from head coach Kyle Shanahan and an offensive staff highly regarded for its ability to develop quarterbacks. The same thing Wilson had this season under Sean Payton and his experienced assistant coaches.
What I've seen in my, limited observation and absorption of what makes a quarterback click. I'm just looking a lot about the numbers plus my eye test when I watched him play. It seems like there's a little bit of Will Levis in the big turnover, right? That's what plagued him a lot. He threw some interceptions. His QBR is in the Will Levis low category, right down there in the 30s. It's not where you want to be. So the question would be, will the light go on with all of these things that the Athletic article talk about? And again, in my exploratory Lewis and Clark expedition for the Titans, if they don't want to go in and draft Cam Ward or go in and spend big money on a Darnold and just sort of table it for a year, work on the rest of the roster, which is the key part of this whole thing, and have, let's just say, a Zach Wilson, Will Levis, let's see who the light goes on, or if the light goes on. And if not, you pick first, third, fifth next year, and you get another big crack at a big name, maybe the top quarterback that's out there. That, to me, that wouldn't be the worst way to go. I know you'd have to stomach some tough Sundays, but that's life on the frontier, Adam. That's what happens. You've been on the Oregon Trail, or at least virtually.
Absolutely.
And what happened to the oxen?
They drowned in the lake.
Yeah, see,
or the river.
You
and
can
my,
have some
and
tough.
my family died of dysentery.
Yeah, I don't know if that happened on Sunday, but that's going to happen on some Sundays to the Titans.
Hopefully, it doesn't
Will
happen.
Levis and Zach Wilson, but who knows? You might strike gold.
One texter said, how many wins did Zach Wilson have in those 33 starts?
12 and 21.
Sam Darnold, in his time with the Jets, went 13 and 25.
Very similar.
Hard to win with the New York Jets, as we've come
They were
to
bad.
know.
They were bad.
As we've come to know.
Now, it was maybe more of a disappointment for Wilson because of what you said. He wasn't supposed to play in 2023. They had Rodgers. And Wilson the year before had gone 5-4. It wasn't because of him. They had a really good defense. But his second year in the league, he did improve a little bit, and they were at least able to win some games with him. But they didn't like him, and they went Rodgers, and they thought, well, maybe sitting and watching, he'll do better. Then all of a sudden, he's got to be thrown right back in there. And that was a terrible set of circumstances because you got the frustration of all the hype for the Jets. He's not supposed to be playing, but he is, and he failed miserably.
One texter says, if you go that route, I'd feel better about Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater is 32 years old.
What? Well, okay, you tell me, what is the upside on the frontier? You come across the Bridgewaters, and you like Teddy. But what's the best you're going to get out of him? Now, maybe when Teddy Bridgewater was 26, and Teddy Bridgewater's had a lot of chapters in travels. He's been on the frontier.
And he's
been out there for a long time.
He came out of retirement at the end of the season
Yeah.
to sign with the
So
Lions.
he is a guy that you would have a stopgap to try to place hold for a few games. He is not a guy that you're trying to be there's no possible way Teddy Bridgewater at this stage of his career is the next Sam Darnold. Zero chance.
615-737-1025. Am I wrong that I feel like I'm almost being talked into Zach Wilson? I'm talking myself into Zach Wilson.
And I'm not saying plant your flag in the ground for Zach Wilson, but I'm saying you weigh these options, you see who's out there, you do your evaluation, and you get the right price point.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's be honest, your budget on the frontier is limited, right? You're not building railroads and doing stuff like that. Like,
right, you got to go to the general store.
Yeah, you're going to the general store.
Ammunition to go hunting for buffalo or bison or whatever you want. Zach Wilson, as we've talked about, Willie, he's in that bin. He's in that discount bin that you find at the video store or the gas station. He's in that bin. So here's my question to all of you at 615-737-1025. How would you feel if the Titans signed Zach Wilson? How would you feel about the direction of the Titans in the short term if they took a chance on Zach Wilson? 615-737-1025. We'll take your reaction next. Willie Donick, Adam Vingan, 1025-1063, The Game.
All right, let's talk League Company. Proud sponsor, Nashville Predators. You'll see their display around Bridgestone Arena. You will hear their words because they're a sponsor of our pregame coverage. We're going to have some late nights on Tuesday and Friday as we head out to California, and the Predators are going to play the Sharks, the Ducks, and the Kings. Nashville's won 3 in a row. Steven Stamkos had the big hat trick on Saturday night. League Company, meanwhile, is getting everybody ready to go. If you're on their home maintenance plan right now, likely you've gotten a phone call or a message that says it's that time of the year to get the annual checkup of your air conditioning system. That's what they do. They give you annual checkups of your air conditioning, your heating, your plumbing, and electric. It's a fantastic way to stay on top of things and avoid the big disaster in the middle of the summer, no AC, heavy heat wave. 615-567-1000, leaguecompany.com. Simple way to stay on top of things. The home maintenance plan from League Company. Proud sponsor, Nashville Predators. In business since 1944. Just go to leaguecompany.com.
Preds fans want to win tickets to a Preds game, then be listening to Robbie and Rexroad tomorrow morning for Preds Pick to Click. All you have to do is guess a Preds goal scorer, and if they put the puck in the back of the net, you win. Be listening tomorrow morning for your cue to call, not cuticle, for your cue to call on Robbie and Rexroad. Willie Donick, Adam Vingan here with you. Philip Hutchinson, I should say, the Lipscomb athletic director, will join us at the top of the noon hour to discuss Lipscomb punching its ticket to the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2018. But the question I left with all of you at 615-737-1025 before we went to break. Zach Wilson? ? Jeremy Fowler mentioned in a report on NFL Live late last week that the Titans probably aren't going to spend top of the market money on a quarterback, but could bring in a mid-tier type of guy, such as Zach Wilson. Just threw it in there. And my ears perked up when I heard that, because Zach Wilson isn't a quarterback that we've discussed at length. But as we described, Willie, in the previous segment, there are a lot of parallels between Zach Wilson and Sam Darnold pre-Minnesota Vikings Sam Darnold. A lot of texters have a lot of things to say about Zach Wilson. Josh, speaking for a lot of Titans fans on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says, I honestly don't see the difference between Will Levis and Zach Wilson. Jared from Spring Hill says, man, if y'all ain't smoking something, y'all need to be thinking Wilson could be any better than Levis. If they sign him, they better come out and preface the season as a throwaway. Andrew says Zach Wilson plus Cam Ward. Absolutely. So, Willie, you have been adamant.
Well,
and
if you're going to take Cam Ward, then you don't get a Zach Wilson.
No,
to me.
Then you sign.
No, you keep Will Levis as a very cheap
Levis.
backup.
Or if you want to bring in a veteran such as Jacoby Brissett, who has been in this position many times in his career as the veteran.
Or that might be the
mentor.
Teddy Bridgewater one, right?
Right.
Just a seasoned veteran who's got the wisdom of being around the block. Maybe that's the answer there.
One texter says on Zach Wilson, short term for as low money as you can get. Hell yeah, do it. Why not? I mean, can't be much worse than what we've got, right? And if it is, then I guess another number one pick.
Right. But that's to me what you embrace on the frontier is you've got nothing to lose. If this is the approach you want to take, I'm not saying that they have to do this. If they love Cam Ward, take Cam Ward. If you want to go out on the frontier and go with this route where you're just exploring to see if you can get the bounce back for a good price, and then once you see that person fit for you, maybe you have, in a perfect world, and the odds of this happening are low, but your batting average of taking a pick with the first pick at quarterback is also not 100%. It's not a guarantee. There's plenty of flops who have been high first-round picks as quarterbacks. We know that. But if you get the bounce back, then you pay and you probably get a team-friendly deal like the Buccaneers did, and you have good quarterback play, and you've got all the benefits of taking the other resources to address the needs of your roster.
Skylar on our text line says, did anybody even think the Titans were going to be good next year anyways? F it. Zach Wilson will land the Titans another number one overall pick next year. And I just have to give this texter, an unnamed texter, a round of applause. He says the idea of Will Levis and Zach Wilson on the same team, it would make for a great chicken salad chick co-marketing campaign, mayonnaise plus older women.
Okay.
Bravo.
You have said, Adam, you like good storylines.
I do.
I think there would be some storylines there.
Absolutely. That would be the most extra quarterback room in the NFL, bar none. But I agree with some of these texters.
It doesn't have to be Zach Wilson.
It doesn't have to be Zach Wilson.
There is a series. That's where your evaluators look into the bins and say, this is the one that could work for us. It could.
I like the parallels between Zach Wilson and Sam Darnold. They both were high draft picks of the New York Jets who failed in New York, who went somewhere else, took that gap year, studied under an offensive-minded coach. We saw it work with Sam Darnold. Now, does that mean it's going to
Right.
work with Sam Wilson? Sam
And
Wilson.
let's
Zach
follow
Wilson, no.
let's follow the number one guy in Sam Darnold's corner, and that's Jared, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sam Darnold, he points out that Darnold started to find a little bit of traction in Carolina. And that was, interestingly enough, his age 25 season. And so this is, again, along the path of Wilson. He's had a chance since he's been the Jets cast off. He has gone other places, right? And so this could be where he could start picking up some traction at a very low price. I don't know what the Carolina Panthers paid for Darnold. I would imagine it wasn't very much at all. And did they trade him to San Francisco, or was he just thrown to the?
I believe he was a free agent signing.
Right. And so San Francisco, I'm sure, didn't pay very much at all to get him either.
He signed a 1-year, $4.5 million contract with the 49ers, it says
Okay.
here by a quick Google search.
Okay, so that was after he went 4-2, where Jared is singing his praises. He went 4-2 for Carolina, and that earned him a whopping $4.2 million contract and not a starting job. So you see where Darnold's stock was so low, this is where Zach Wilson's stock is right now. So if you fail with a quarterback who's got first-round tools and he's making $4 million or $5 million, and the worst case is Will Levis gets another kick at it, and you see if he has the light go on, and then if that doesn't go right, you've got a top 5 pick. Okay. I just challenge you. Is that the worst thing that could happen?
I'm talking myself into it. And
Would you rather have Daniel Jones? He's going to cost more than Zach Wilson.
No, I would rather.
You'd rather take a flyer on Wilson.
Oh, you said the banned word. We got to come up with
Have we banned it?
We've banned Flyer. Flyer is banned.
Yeah. I think I banned it myself.
You did.
Yeah.
Would I rather?
I have to be able to say it when the Predators play the Philadelphia Flyers. That's coming up later this month.
That I will allow.
Okay.
The only time we'll allow it.
Yes. Would I rather?
Judge Janes.
Would I rather pay Daniel
Judge Janes,
Jones?
I'll allow it.
Would I rather pay Daniel Jones or Zach Wilson? I mean, I know what I'm getting in Daniel Jones, right?
It would appear he's a little bit more of a finished product.
Yes.
It would appear.
So,
But he's also had higher highs. He's got a road playoff win. He's got some good seasons.
and he
And
also
he went to Duke.
He did, but he also went to Minnesota at the end of the season after the Giants let him go and spent some time in the Kevin O'Connell environment, which worked well with Sam Darnold, although it was a much more abbreviated time. So one texter says, oh, wait, I forgot how well this coaching staff did last year in developing Levis. So I have full confidence in that working now. About Zach Wilson, bringing in a young quarterback.
Look, they're gonna have to hear this criticism until they get some results. This is going to be the skepticism.
I'm just going to say this. I don't hate it. I wouldn't love it, but I don't hate it.
We're not talking about a big financial commitment, right? If it's $4 or $5 million, as opposed to Darnold being competing to see who's going to give him 40 or more. You just saw Josh Allen recalibrate the whole quarterback thing at the
Most
top.
guaranteed money of all time, I believe.
So 40 could become more than 40 for Darnold.
It is a good question. Wes from Hermitage says, I just want to check all the boxes on a generational flyer. Wes,
Wait, hold on.
Yes.
He said the word.
He said all of them. He said checks off all the boxes. He said generational, and he said flyer. Wes, you're banned. You're banned for
Wes.
texting.
Oh,
I'm kidding. I know what he's doing. One texter says, makes me believe they kept Callie for the fall guy next year. It's going to take a good quarterback for him to keep his job, which we talked about last week. If you are Brian Callahan, what situation would you rather have? If you could choose between these
I
two?
will take Joe Montana.
Of course, but that's not an option. If you
Tom
had to-
Brady,
if you
you know?
had-
This
if you-
is the reality.
Right.
It's idealism versus realism.
right. But if you had a choice, if you are Brian Callahan, if you had a choice between the Titans signing a veteran quarterback, a finished product, let's just say, for the sake of this argument, Aaron Rodgers. You know what Aaron Rodgers is at this point of his career. He is better equipped to help you win games, which helps you have a better coaching record, theoretically. Would you rather have that to boost your win-loss record, or would you rather have another opportunity with a young quarterback, whether they draft Cam Ward, whether it's someone like Zach Wilson or Justin Fields. Again, just a young quarterback who could be the next Sam Darnold. Would you rather have that opportunity to prove that you can indeed develop a quarterback after it did not work out for you with Will Levis? I chose the latter. I think if I'm Brian Callahan, I'd rather show that I can develop a young quarterback. That would be my choice.
Well, that's what I would choose too. But the whole key is how is he being evaluated from by Chad Brinker and Mike Borgonzi? That's the key, because if they're being fair, they're looking at the job he's doing outside of the wins and losses. If you get Aaron Rodgers in here and you go 7-10, 8-9, and you have some fun Sundays where maybe you pull a big upset here and there, maybe with 4 weeks left in the regular season, you're 7-6 or 6-7. You're like, oh, they're only 2 games out. They're 2 games out in the wild card, and you fall, then you pick 15th, and Aaron Rodgers is 42. Then where are you? So if I'm Brian Callahan, I think for a long term, you might get fired anyway. Being 8-9 and saying, hey, we made progress. We went from 4 wins to 8 wins. He still is not guaranteed to keep his job.
Quickly, Brian on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com, says, I know you guys won't like this, and if I'm wrong, I'll text back and say I'm wrong, but I'm out on Wilson. If he's the guy, I can't see myself watching many games this upcoming season. I just can't get excited for another brutal season, and I personally feel Wilson will be unwatchable.
Okay.
I personally think he might be more watchable.
Watchable and not in
the same way that Will Levis was watchable.
I think you've got to lean into where the Titans are. All right. So I would ask that fan, would you be, quote, excited to watch every Sunday if they're a mediocre team, even with Aaron Rodgers? And the scenario I said, with 4 weeks left in the regular season, they're 6-7 or 7-6. Is that exciting? In the short term, maybe more exciting than what we saw last year, but where are you going? Don't you want to get into the heavyweight division? This is not this is where, like, do you really have a chance? Even if you squeezed into the wild card, where is your roster going? Maybe that's the answer. What's the price for Rodgers? These are all things you have to weigh.
615-737-1025. We'll continue the conversation as the NFL's legal tampering period is underway. A lot of contracts being signed, being agreed to. We will continue this conversation with Jake Lyman when he joins me in the 12 o'clock hour. But coming up next, Lipscomb Athletic Director Philip Hutchison will join us to discuss Lipscomb's tournament ceiling win yesterday against North Alabama. Lipscomb heading to the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2018. We will discuss that with Philip Hutchison. Coming up next, Willie Donick, Derek Mason. Derek Mason's not here. Willie Donick, Adam Vingan, 102.5.
Shout out D-Mace.
I hope you're doing well, D-Mace. Willie Donick, Adam Vingan, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
All right, let's talk Loan Pronto. Remember, at this time of year, hey, the weather's a little warmer. You might have your mind on what's coming up. I know I got some neighbors on my street that have done some amazing things to their houses, doing some home remodeling, home improvement. If you've got a home improvement vision and you're figuring out, how do I fund it? Well, the average homeowner has over $300,000 in equity, and that's your money. That's where you can get some cold, hard cash to go pay for the remodeling job. Make your house even more valuable and make your home even more enjoyable to live in by upgrading a bathroom or creating an outdoor patio. Whatever it is on your mind, you can do it. If you own a home, you can get that money in less than a week through our friends at Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto is the leader in quickly converting this home equity into cold, hard cash. They can do it quick. No paperwork, no cumbersome process, no junk fees, often no appraisal. Just get the money you need by calling loanpronto.com. Start the process. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780. The website, loanpronto.com. Get that money you need. Loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
D. Mace, Finnegan, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Donick, Adam Vingan here with you. Before we get to our guest on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, we have some Titans breaking news to share. According to Adam Schefter, the Tennessee Titans have signed offensive tackle Dan Moore Jr. to a 4-year, $82 million contract, including $50 million guaranteed. Dan Moore Jr., most recently of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's 26 years old, I believe is a left tackle. So what could that mean for J.C. Latham?
He is listed as, I'm looking at his Pro Football Reference page, left tackle, tackle, offensive tackle. I don't know what that means. So I don't know if they envision him as the left tackle or the right tackle. These will be questions that we have. And then the ultimate question is, if he's that good, why would the Steelers allow him to go to free agency? But he can't be worse than the right tackles that they've had. The question is return on the investment, right? That's going to be the key.
Absolutely not. Let's go to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in Philip Hutchison, the athletic director at Lipscomb. Lipscomb coming off a 76-65 win against North Alabama in the ASUN championship game. Lipscomb heading to the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2018. Philip, thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations.
Thanks so much. Super to be with you guys, and great day to be a Bison.
So let's start there. Just what it means to be back in the NCAA tournament for the first time in 7 years. Where have you seen this program grow since the last time it went to the NCAA tournament?
Well, like so many programs now, you kind of have your ups and downs a little bit. You'll have a good year. And, the last time we went, we had a really veteran group with Garrison Matthews, Eli Pepper, Rob Marbury, a bunch of other guys. They graduated, and we lost in that graduating class 7,700 points in 1 year. And so, you turn around and then you're trying to rebuild. And, of course, since then, we've had the transfer portal and NIL and the rest, and that makes things a little different than they were. Even in 2018-19, you can get veteran players, build your team a little quicker. You can keep your team a little older if that's what you choose to do. And so it's been a lot of change even since then. But here we are, and again, we have a veteran team with a bunch of, some young guys, but mostly a bunch of fifth-year guys that have played a lot of games, a lot of experience, have developed, as Coach Acuff would call it, a strong chin. And so have seen us kind of like everybody else go a little bit up and down. But this is our third year to have 20 wins in a season, and we have a veteran team. And so it was a great culmination for these guys of several years of hard work.
Philip, it was a full circle moment for the program yesterday. Not that I need to remind you, and I'm sorry for bringing this back up, although you probably feel better about it today than you did yesterday. Lipscomb's ASUN tournament run came to an end last season against North Alabama on a spectacular buzzer beater.
Yeah.
To have that full circle moment, defeating North Alabama for the ASUN championship, how much did that loss at the end of last season serve as motivation for your program throughout this season?
Well, it was certainly a tough one of the toughest, really. And so, I don't know that our guys needed extra motivation, but certainly it was some level of motivation. And I just think especially for the veteran guys, as soon as that season was over, they knew we had a special group. We had a lot of talent. We, felt like it just ended too soon. And so they were immediately ready to, come back and try again. And honestly, I really didn't think much about it though yesterday. I mean, maybe they did. I don't know. North Alabama's been really good all year. We've been the top two teams in the conference, since about the middle of the conference on. And it was a 1 versus 2 matchup. So I'm not sure it was so much yesterday thinking about that ending the year before
as much as like this is a really good team we've got to compete against. But certainly when it ended last year, our guys, just felt, man, the ride ended way too soon and unfinished business, and that was a great motivation.
We're talking to Philip Hutchison, athletic director for Lipscomb. They are going to the big dance. They won it yesterday on their home court at Allen Arena. And Philip, that was one thing that I was thinking about as you guys, especially in the semifinal, had to come from behind, but being able to play on your home court, that's a dilemma, I'm sure, for a lot of leagues, whether to have a neutral site or give home court advantage. I'm sure you probably were pretty happy that you had home court advantage for your group.
Yeah, it was tremendous. I love the home court format. I think it rewards the teams that have had worked hard all season to earn that right. And it's a great way typically for your fans to kind of, even when you lose, I mean, we lost the year before, but it was exciting. I mean, it kind of leaves your fans with a sense of unfinished business and ready to come back the next year when that happens. And certainly, Joe Anderson said it after the game against Queens in the semifinals. We had to go to overtime to beat Queens in the semis, and we were down 10 points with like 7 to go or something like that. And really, our students were the ones who they got up and stayed up. They were up almost the whole game, but then they started kind of waving it at the season ticket holders. Some others like, y'all get up too. And like the whole arena was up for the last 8 minutes of regulation and the whole overtime. And then yesterday, of course, North Alabama brought a fantastic crowd, ton of students. One student's equal to about 3 other fans, really, in terms of volume. And so they brought a great crowd, and it challenged our crowd. And so it was a great environment. But the home court, I'm not sure maybe we win, but boy, it would have sure been a lot tougher without being on home court.
But it certainly makes for a great environment for sure. When you watch it on TV, you can just really feel it. It just looks so much better, feels so much better than an arena that may or may not be full on a neutral court, or if certain teams get knocked out, maybe the crowd is really not what it should be for a championship game.
Yeah, the energy was just off the charts, and I've said this before too. I mean, I've been in both situations when playing basketball and being in the position I'm in now, where we've been the home court. We've had home court and we've loved that, but we've also been the team that was visiting. But I just tell people, I said, look, I can just tell you, like, as a player, sometimes there's nothing better than walking into the opposing arena and everybody's booing you and it's loud and they're getting after you and you're like, hey, I'm here for this, and you're just ready, you're ready. And so I thought even the North Alabama players yesterday, I mean, I know they're bitterly disappointed at losing. They had a great team, would have been a great representative for us, but even so, they had to leave with great memories of just an electric environment. And as a player, that's all you could ask for.
I want to ask you about your coach, Lenny Acuff, because he's been there for a while now, and he's steadily improved. There was maybe some transition there where, of course, the game and the way you build your roster has changed, as you know, with the COVID and then all of the rules that we know very well now, NIL transfers. But you seem to really like what he's been about from the start, and now you're really seeing the fruits of the consistency of having him be there.
Yeah, I just think it's so important to be able to define who you are, what you're about, what your program's about. And, Lenny was, that was all evident from, all the years he was at Alabama Huntsville. And even before that, I mean, he's known all over the country among coaching circles as, an offensive guru, but really just a great basketball guy, just a guy who loves basketball, knows the game, knows people, continues to learn, student, that sort of thing. And I thought too, it was so telling when he was, when we were talking about him coming here, how many of his former players stayed in touch with him. Because, if you don't like the guy, I mean, you never have to talk to him again once your career's over. But to have so many of his former players who stayed in touch, who followed him, who would come to his games, who would call on his behalf. I mean, he had a 20-year, I guess they celebrated like his 20 years at Huntsville or something while he was coaching there. And somebody told me he had like 80 players that came back for that. And that just, to me, that said everything about him as a person. And And I thought that was a great fit for Lipscomb. And then, obviously the basketball part, he knows that. And again, the year we went to the NIT finals, lost to Texas, he came in, let's see that then he came in right after that. I mean, and we, he coached that first year when we lost all those guys. We went to the finals against Liberty, lost to a great Liberty team, in the finals at Liberty. 3 days later, COVID shut us down. I mean, it was, it was 2 days from today, 5 years ago.
Wow.
And shut us down. And then, all the chaos that ensued. And so then to your point, we've had a lot of changes in the way you build rosters and all. But, again, I think he's done a great job. And, we know who we are. He has a good sense of what we need to do to, be good on a consistent basis. And we're seeing the fruit of it, I hope.
We're talking to athletic director Philip Hutchinson over at Lipscomb. They're going to the big dance. And for those that maybe haven't followed closely, they're not going to be a 15 or 16 seed. They're a top 100 team. They're number 80 in the KenPom right now. They've won 11 out of their last 12. And Philip, let's ask you about your observation as Lipscomb's tried to figure out how to evolve with the NIL and the transfers. Because one thing I noticed about your roster, there's plenty of transfers in there, but the nucleus of your team has been there for 2 or 3 years. And so you guys haven't had to turn everybody over for, everybody would look at Vanderbilt's team in the situation they were in. They've got a brand new team and somehow it's worked. And you can do that in college basketball now, but it may not be ideal.
Yeah, Mark's done a great job over there. They've had a fantastic year, and I'm sure they'll move on into the NCAA tournament and see what the seed is after their tournament. But they've had a fantastic year, and there's different ways to do it for sure. To your point, we were able to keep some of our key guys around for multiple years, and I think that's what makes us a dangerous team. Honestly, is again, they played together. They don't get panicky. They have had tough losses and tough wins, and but then we went out and found some really, really good guys to come in and be a part of it as well. I mean, Giassi Powell had a great game yesterday. He's a fifth year from Jacksonville. We'd played against him and we knew he was a good player, but man, he's like a 10x kind of guy compared to even a player. He's just been a great fit for our team and excellent player and great chemistry. And then Charlie Williams came in and, Kellen Boylan and Miles White. I mean, we've added several guys. I'm probably skipping somebody inadvertently, but we've added some really good pieces to it. And so, again, after this year, we're going to lose some guys to graduation, what have you. We'll bring in a couple of high school guys. I think Lenny thinks that's still important. And we've got some really good high school players coming in, but we'll have to, also find some transfers. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier about, hopefully doing a really good job of knowing who we are and what type of player we need and what kind of system we run. And, I think it doesn't really matter. You can be offensive minded, you can be defensive minded, you can rely on physicality, you can rely on, whatever else, skill or what have you. But I think you need to be able, especially now, as soon as the transfer portal's open, you've got to really quickly be able to identify, okay, what kind of player is that? What do they do? Do they fit us? Do they not fit us? It's fine that they don't. They probably fit somewhere, but it can be tough if you get, as I call it, you get a good piece of the puzzle, but they're in the wrong place. And all you do is end up, kind of messing up the piece of the puzzle or the puzzle itself, so you just got to be able to identify who fits where. And that's just part of it now.
For people that may not be familiar with Philip, he was a great player at Lipscomb in the NAIA era. Back in the 80s national championship, Philip scored over 4,000 points. That's still mind-boggling to me. But Philip, as a basketball fan, one of the things that I'm noticing, I just am enjoying watching any college basketball game now. I just feel like the product has really come into a really good spot. Whereas, I think you would agree a few years ago, a lot of stagnant games. Maybe the defenses were a little better than the offenses. Teams weren't able to get quality shots in the 30-second shot clock. There's always some flaws in the game, but I feel like the product is really good right now.
Yeah, I would agree. One thing that's happened too, especially on maybe the highest levels, is you had a lot more people who were saying, well, I'm going to, move on to the pros or overseas or, overtime elite or whatever. I mean, there are all sorts of options there with G League, whatever they thought they were moving on to. And now with NIL, not so much at our level, but certainly at the P4 level, I mean, Power 4 level, you have guys who are staying around longer.
Older teams, more experience.
Yeah, frankly, it's better. It's better for them. And so I think then that just kind of transfers all the way down. I mean, I think you just see, more experience. You've got, the game's just gotten better and better. And it'll have ebbs and flows too. I mean, the rules have something to do with it. And, one group of teams will be successful one way and some others will pick it up, that sort of thing. But I do think it's great right now. And again, back to what we were talking about earlier, I think with the ability for players to move around a little bit more, it makes it harder on the fans. I think it's harder for the fans to know, like, what's this guy's story? Why should I care? Why should I cheer for him, et cetera? But from a skill level, talent level, fit. I said this to somebody the other day. I said, look, one thing people always bemoan, like, oh, you're going to lose this guy in the portal and, he's going to go somewhere. And, that is tough sometimes. But the flip side of it is it used to be that you had guys that were not a good fit for your team. They, either they didn't pan out, they wanted a different role than they had, whatever. And they were not very happy and they weren't going to get to play, et cetera. And it's tough on your team because, if you're, honoring your commitment, you say, well, we're going to keep you as long as you kind of do what we ask you to do. And they, they're kind of stuck because they have to sit out a year or whatever. Now, to me, it really allows teams to kind of try to hone in a little bit more on who we are, what we're doing. And it allows players to kind of go to places they think they need to go. Now, I don't like that all the time, but I think there's been some benefit too that people don't really see in terms of, finding better fits for players sometimes. We haven't had a lot of turnover, and I hope we don't. I think we do a good job on the front end of finding players, but I do think overall, to your point about the game, I think that's helped some too.
Philip Hutchison, Lipscomb Athletic Director, joining us on D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick. Philip, thank you so much for your time. Congratulations to your program. We will be watching Selection Sunday. Can't wait to see where Lipscomb ends up.
Oh, yeah. So, a big party on the campus, I assume, Hutch?
Yeah, Allen Arena. Selection shows at 5 p.m. on CBS, and we'll be here at 4:30 with the doors open. Hope a lot of people come by. Everybody's welcome, and join us to find out where we go.
Okay, I want to see you in the front shot, right? I mean, you got to be. You're not going to hog the camera, but I feel like you need to get some camera time, and we want to see the big reaction jumping up off the seat.
Well, I'm not that kind of guy, but I'll be there. I'll be there somewhere. Okay. I promise you that.
Philip Hutchison, Lipscomb Athletic Director, joining us again. Thank you so much for your time, Philip, and congratulations to you and your program.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Of course. 615-737.
Isn't that the moment, the fun moment when you see your name on there and they go to the screen and everybody, let's go.
And then there are the teams that they just, they have a polite round of applause. Like, yeah,
well, right. We're here every year, kind of thing, but it's not. It's that for programs like Lipscomb, like it is such a great moment. That's going to be the moment.
Absolutely. 615-737-1025. The Titans have made a major signing. We'll have a bit of a shift change here. Willie Donick must depart with the Nashville Predators. They're off to sunny California. I feel bad for you, Willie. Enjoy your week in California. Jake Lyman.
The weather is not supposed to be that great, unfortunately.
Well, good.
Boo-hoo.
Jake Lyman will join us for the rest of the program. Coming up next, Willie Donick, Adam Vingan, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
All right, I'm going to be heading to San Jose with the Predators here very soon. Jake Lyman is doing furious studying on everything he can possibly tell you on Dan Moore, the Titans' new tackle signing. So stay tuned for that. Also, let me tell you about my friends at F&M Bank. Yes, we took it to the bank again on Friday at 1:45, and March Madness is going to be such a great time for Take It to the Bank. Meanwhile, F&M Bank continues to do their thing. What is their thing? That is every community they're in. It's banking made easy on purpose. Visit them online at one of their 20 locations in Middle Tennessee and Southern Kentucky to get started. Just go to myfmbank.com and find the nearest location to you. Banking made easy on purpose. They've got a team of dedicated financial experts, and they're committed to guiding you every step of the way, regardless of where you are on the spectrum of what your financial needs are. If you're a little bit younger, a little bit older, married, single, they've got plans for all of you. Business owner, they've got it all. myfmbank.com. Banking made easy on purpose. And the one I always throw out there is the Smart Swipe card. Make sure you ask about that. It's a great small way and small tool to save money over time. Great way to go. myfmbank.com. It's F&M Bank, equal housing lender, member FDIC.